Imagine a world where chains bind not just bodies but spirits, a world where your very humanity is denied, where hope is a luxury few can afford. Now imagine a man born into this nightmare who dared to dream of something else, something bigger. For centuries, the story of Brazil has been intertwined with the bitter taste of sugar and the brutal reality of slavery. Millions of Africans, stripped of their names, their families, their dignity, were dragged across an ocean to fuel an empire's greed. They toiled under a scorching sun, their lives reduced to mere labor, their futures stolen. But even in the deepest despair, the human spirit finds a way to resist. It finds a way to fight back. And in the heart of colonial Brazil, a beacon of defiance rose from the darkness. Palmares. This wasn't just a hideout, it was a kingdom, a living testament to the unbreakable will of people yearning to be free. And at its core stood a figure whose name would echo through generations, a leader, a warrior, a legend, Zumbi dos Palmares. His story isn't just about escape, it's about building a new world, brick by painful brick, in the face of unimaginable odds. What did it take to forge freedom when the entire colonial might of Portugal wanted nothing more than to crush you? The story begins not with Zumbi himself, but with the very fabric of colonial Brazil. By the 17th century, the Portuguese had established a vast and brutal plantation economy, primarily centered around sugar. The demand for labor was insatiable, and the answer, they believed, lay in the transatlantic slave trade. Africans from diverse ethnic groups, Yoruba, Bantu, Fawn, and many others, were crammed onto slave ships, enduring unspeakable conditions before being forced into lives of servitude. The cruelty was systemic, designed to break spirits and enforce absolute obedience. Whippings, torture, and murder were common tools of control. Families were ripped apart, cultures suppressed, and identities erased. It was an inferno of human suffering. But humanity, in its rawest form, always pushes back. Faced with such oppression, enslaved people developed various forms of resistance. Sabotage, feigning illness, slow work, and even poisoning their masters were quiet acts of rebellion. The most dramatic, however, was outright escape. They fled into the dense, unforgiving Brazilian wilderness, a landscape that was both a sanctuary and a deadly adversary. These escaped communities, known as Quilombos, became vital pockets of freedom, places where the rhythms of African life could be rekindled and new identities forged. Among these Quilombos, one reigned supreme, Palmares. Located in what is now the state of Alagoas, it wasn't a temporary camp. It was a sophisticated, self-sustaining society that grew to encompass multiple settlements and thousands of inhabitants. Palmares, or Quilombo dos Palmares, as it's often known, was a vibrant society, a true African-Brazilian kingdom nestled deep within the rainforest. It had its own governance, its own military, its own agricultural systems. People farmed, hunted, traded, and raised families, recreating the social structures and spiritual practices they had been forced to leave behind. It was a beacon, a dangerous dream, a place where the concept of freedom wasn't just debated but lived. It was into this world that Zumbi was born in 1655, likely within one of Palmares' settlements. His early life, however, took a dramatic turn. At the tender age of 6, he was captured during a Portuguese raid and given to a missionary priest, Father Antonio Melo, in Porto Calvo. He was baptized with the name Francisco, educated and taught Latin, Portuguese, and Catholicism. For a time, it seemed Zumbi's path was set, assimilated into colonial society, far from the wild, free spirit of Palmares. But the pull of his true heritage, the stories whispered in his blood, proved stronger than any imposed identity. At around 15 years old, Francisco, now known as Zumbi, escaped from the priest's care. He turned his back on the colonial world and found his way back to Palmares, to his people. This return wasn't just a personal journey, it was a profound act of self-reclamation. He rejected the name given to him by his captors and embraced Zumbi, a name that in some Bantu languages means spirit or ghost, perhaps reflecting his almost supernatural ability to evade capture. Upon his return, Zumbi quickly distinguished himself. Palmares was already a powerful entity, having resisted countless Portuguese and Dutch attacks for decades. It was led by his uncle, Ganga Zumba, a wise and respected leader. Zumbi, with his knowledge of colonial tactics learned during his captivity and his innate understanding of the dense terrain, became a brilliant military strategist. He was a master of guerrilla warfare, using the thick forests and challenging topography to his advantage, launching surprise attacks, ambushing colonial forces, and leading daring raids to liberate more enslaved people. His reputation as an invincible warrior, a master tactician, spread like wildfire, striking fear into the hearts of slave owners and inspiring hope among the enslaved. But Zumbi's vision went beyond just fighting battles. He believed in absolute, uncompromising freedom. Ganga Zumba, under immense pressure from the Portuguese, had once considered a peace treaty that would grant freedom to those born in Palmares, but require the Quilombo to return newly escaped slaves to their masters. For Zumbi, this was an unacceptable compromise. His experience under colonial rule, his understanding of its inherent brutality, made him unwilling to cede even an inch of the freedom Palmares had fought so hard to create. He famously opposed any agreement that would not grant universal freedom to all enslaved people. This ideological clash led to a pivotal moment. Zumbi challenged Ganga Zumba's leadership, arguing for a more radical and defiant stance. Eventually, Zumbi took over the leadership of Palmares, perhaps even through a coup or with Ganga Zumba's mysterious death. Under Zumbi, Palmares became an even more formidable symbol of resistance. He strengthened its defenses, organized its communities, and relentlessly pursued the liberation of more enslaved individuals. His vision was a completely independent African state on Brazilian soil, a haven where African culture, religion, and self-determination could flourish, free from Portuguese interference. Life within Palmares was a marvel of resilience and ingenuity. It was a complex society that mirrored and adapted African traditions to a new environment. People lived in villages called macambos, often fortified with palisades and hidden deep within the jungle. They practiced communal agriculture, growing crops like corn, beans, cassava, and sweet potatoes, ensuring self-sufficiency. There was a division of labor, with farmers, artisans, and warriors all contributing to the Quilombo's survival. Spiritual practices, deeply rooted in African religions, provided solace and strength. Palmares was a living, breathing rejection of the dehumanization of slavery, a vibrant testament to the power of a people to rebuild, to create, to be free. The existence of Palmares was a constant thorn in the side of the Portuguese colonial government. It represented not only a loss of valuable labor, but, more dangerously, a potent symbol of hope for all enslaved people. It was an undeniable proof that freedom was possible and that knowledge could spark widespread rebellion. The Portuguese launched dozens of expeditions against Palmares over its nearly century-long existence, but under Zumbi's leadership, the Quilombo became almost impregnable. Zumbi's military genius was in full display during these confrontations. He understood the terrain intimately, setting up ambushes, constructing elaborate traps, and using feigned retreats to lure the colonial troops into deadly traps. His warriors, armed with bows, arrows, spears, and a few captured firearms, fought with the ferocity of those defending their last bastion of hope. They were fighting for their lives, their families, their very right to exist as free people. For decades, Palmares held its own, a defiant sovereign nation within the colonial territory. Its resilience became legendary, a whispered tale of courage and defiance that spread from plantation to plantation, fueling the dreams of countless enslaved people. Zumbi's enduring spirit of resistance wasn't just about winning battles. It was about sustaining a dream against overwhelming odds. He inspired his people to believe in themselves, to never surrender their fight for freedom. He understood that true liberation wasn't just about breaking chains. It was about building a society based on dignity and self-determination. Palmares, under Zumbi, became a living manifesto against slavery, a powerful statement that humanity would always strive for freedom, no matter the cost. But no fortress, no matter how strong, can resist an endless siege. By the late 17th century, the Portuguese, increasingly frustrated and determined to crush the symbol of Palmares once and for all, mounted their most massive and brutal campaign. In 1694, a formidable force led by Domingos Jorge Velho, a notorious bandeirante, explorer, and slave hunter, launched a final devastating assault. They brought cannons, trained soldiers, and a relentless resolve. After a prolonged and bloody siege, the capital of Palmares, Cerca do Macaco, finally fell. The battle was a horrific slaughter, with many defenders choosing death over recapture. Zumbi, however, refused to surrender. He escaped the ruins of Palmares with a small group of followers and continued to wage guerrilla warfare for nearly 2 more years. He became a ghost in the forest, a phantom of defiance. But in 1695, betrayed by one of his own, a former Palmarino named Antonio Suarez, Zumbi was ambushed, captured, and brutally murdered. His head was cut off, preserved in salt, and displayed in public in Recife. The Portuguese wanted to send an unmistakable message. The dream of Palmares was dead, and all hope of freedom was lost. They were wrong. Zumbi's ultimate sacrifice, his unwavering commitment to freedom even unto death, cemented his place not just in history, but in the hearts of future generations. He became a martyr, a symbol, an eternal flame that refused to be extinguished. His brutal end was meant to crush hope, but instead, it ignited a legacy that continues to burn brightly today. Zumbi dos Palmares' legacy is immense and multifaceted. He is revered as one of the greatest figures of resistance against slavery in the Americas. His story transcends the borders of Brazil, resonating with anyone who champions human rights and fights against oppression. For Brazil, Zumbi is a national hero, a powerful symbol of Black consciousness and the struggle for racial equality. His bravery and leadership provided a foundational narrative for the Afro-Brazilian community, reminding them of their strength, resilience, and their right to dignity. Every year on November 20th, Brazil observes Black Consciousness Day, a tribute to Zumbi's death and a day to reflect on the ongoing fight against racism and for equality. Zumbi dos Palmares wasn't just a man, he was an idea that freedom is worth fighting for no matter the cost. An idea that a people can build their own destiny, even when surrounded by forces determined to destroy them. His life and death remind us that history is not just written by the powerful, but by those who dare to resist, those who dare to dream of a better world. He was a legend forged in fire, a leader who defied an empire, and a symbol whose spirit continues to inspire movements for justice and liberation today. His story is a powerful reminder that even in the darkest chapters of human history, the pursuit of freedom is an undeniable, unyielding force. To learn more about the incredible stories of resistance and the fight for freedom, subscribe to Slave Memory Chronicles.